Today we're reading Perfect by Ellen Hopkins. I've always been a real fan of Ellen Hopkins' books, so when I saw this book was coming out, I was super excited. That said, when I saw that it was the companion book of Impulse, the excitement probably multiplied by 10 or 20 times. Impulse was my favorite book by Ellen Hopkins so far, and I hadn't been expecting a sequel to it, and I actually didn't know that Perfect was a sequel until I was reading the summary, so that was just really extra awesome. One of my favorite things about Ellen Hopkins' books, which includes Perfect, is the way she does the characters. They're just very, very real. They're your friends or people you know at school. They're people you despise, people you want to save, acquaintances. They're yourself. You can see a little bit of someone and everyone in all of the characters. And it's not just the characters individually, but their lives and the way they're interconnected with one another. It's just very, very cool. None of these characters are flat or static. They have wishes, ambitions, dreams. They're just like everybody else. And maybe because this is one of the few authors that I read that isn't fantasy, having really real characters is just an extra treat. Despite being a very character-driven book, there's a lot of plot, but it isn't forced, and the plot is life. It's the life of the characters, how they connect and feel, and the relationships and how they grow. And as those characters grow and develop, so does the plot. None of it feels unrealistic or makes you step back and wonder what the author's getting at, because it's a situation that we know exists either from our own life or from those around us. And all the problems that the characters encounter are just very relatable. If you're not familiar with Ellen Hopkins' work, then you might not know that the whole novel is actually told through poetry. I personally find the poetry to be fairly prosy, but as a spoken word poet, most of my poetry is also fairly prosy, so I don't have a problem with that. People that are more interested in traditional or Shakespearean poetry may find that the poetry isn't to their taste. However, I think it's an excellent blend of traditional novel prose and modern form poetry. I had small troubles with some of the time passages where she would be speaking in one character's head and then she would move on to another character, and there would be a significant passage of time that I wouldn't realize until farther into the character. This wasn't something that I particularly enjoyed, but on that note, it is poetry, and it is the feelings and thoughts and stream of conscience of this person. So it makes sense that it's a bit more flowy than regular prose. I really enjoyed the ending of this story. She brought in familiar characters from Impulse and just tied everything within the story really well, I thought. But at the same time, it wasn't a fairy tale happy ending. There was no prologue where everybody got married and it was okay and nothing bad ever happened. These stories aren't happy. They're real life. There's happy and good things that happen within them, and there's tragedy and pain that also happens within them. And this book doesn't conclude in a way that makes you know for sure that everything is going to be all right, because their lives aren't over, and things could still happen to them. Not all the problems are resolved, but the ending is definitely concrete. The story is finished. There could be a sequel, but these events are done. As you can probably tell from my review, I really enjoyed this book, and as such it makes sense that I suggest that everybody reads it. But that also just doesn't make sense. The people that I strongly suggest reading this are people that have any interest in poetry at all, enjoy stories about real people, enjoy teenage drama stories, enjoy stories that center around schools and teenagers, and anybody who enjoys just a slice of life story that has really raw, real energy in it. If you've read Perfect and had a different opinion on it, please leave a video response. If you enjoyed the book as much as I did, or enjoyed any of the other Hopkins books, Feel free to comment and suggest which ones that you liked the best. If you have a book suggestion that you would like me to read and review, please also put that in the comments and I will look into it. And I hope you enjoyed this book and this review as much as I enjoyed the novel. Thank you for watching.